Today we're going to talk about the second half of 5.1. We call it 5.1 extended or 5.1.2. But perpendicular bisectors. Now again, a perpendicular bisector is if I were to take a line and draw a perpendicular line through it where the two lines now are congruent, that is a perpendicular bisector. Okay. So here's what it is. Yesterday we talked about this. We focused more on this top half here. So a perpendicular bisector, what's unique about it is equidistant or the same distance from the endpoints of the segment. So again, we talked about yesterday. If that's my perpendicular bisector, cuts this segment in half, and then anything that goes to that perpendicular bisector from the segments is congruent. Today we're going to focus on this bottom half today. We're going to do this bottom half. What that means is we're going to write the equation of the lines here. So we're going to write the equations of lines. In order to do that, just like we did in the warm-up, it's kind of a 3-4 step process. Well, we have to recognize what does perpendicular and bisect mean. So what does perpendicular mean first? 90-degree angle. So that means I need to find slope and then find a perpendicular slope. So we're going to find slope and then we're going to identify perpendicular slope. What does bisect mean? Cut in half. Or more importantly, basically we're going to find the midpoint. So I'm taking my perpendicular slope and my midpoint, and then from there I'm going to come down and write an equation of a line. So here's what happens. It's all stuff we already know how to do. We know how to find slope already. We know how to find perpendicular slope. And we know how to find midpoint. What we're doing today is we're going to put all of that together to write an equation of line now, which is the perpendicular bisector. Okay? So let's look at number 1 here. It says M is the coordinate 3, 2. N is the coordinate 7, 6. So I first need to plot M and N and then draw MN. So I'm going to start off by plotting this. So M is 3, 2. There's M. And N is 7, 6. And there's N. Now I'm going to connect my dots. Something looks like that. Okay, so there's the coordinates. I now want to find the slope of MN. Well, what's another way to say slope? What's another way to say or identify slope? There we go. Rise over run. Could I use rise over run here on my graph? Could I go up so many and over so many? Could I use the slope formula too? Yeah. Either way I want to do it, what's my slope come out to be, Colton? So I can go rise over run. 1. Or I could do slope formula. 1. Either way, what's the slope, Colton? It is 1. So I find the slope. Great. After I find the slope, now I'm going to identify the perpendicular slope. Now remember, perpendicular slope is the opposite reciprocal. So if my slope is 1, what's the opposite reciprocal of 1? Negative 1. Great. Next thing now I'm going to find the midpoint. So I'm going to find the midpoint of those two coordinates. Beast, what's the midpoint of those two coordinates going to be? 5, 4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all together. I'm going to take my slope, or my perpendicular slope, and my midpoint, and I'm going to put it into point slope form. Who thinks they got that? Read what you got.
Y equals
no,
X minus
point slope, bud.
Oh, I have like a...
So y minus?
Y minus 4 equals 1, parentheses, X minus 5.
Yep, so y minus 4 equals negative 1, because it's that perpendicular slope.
Yeah.
X minus 5.
Is that how we leave it?
And that is right there.
Oh,
so basically what that is, if I were to draw a perpendicular slope through here, let's see here. It'd be like that line right there. That would be my perpendicular bisector.
So we don't put it into like the point slope?
I could put it into slope-intercept form.
Yeah.
How would I do that? How would I change that to slope-intercept form? I would have to distribute and then add the 4.
Yeah.
So what did you get? What did you get? Like y equals
X minus 1.
negative 1x
Oh yeah.
plus 9.
I forgot to put that in.
So both ways. There you go.
And we
So let's try number 4 here.
Do we have to put it in that?
No, you can leave it as point slope form if it says. Number 4 says write an equation in point slope form for the perpendicular bisector of the segment with the given endpoints. So the first thing I want to do is I want to identify slope. Okay, so I'm going to identify slope here. So I would say 5 minus a negative 3 over 0 minus 6. Oh, geez. What's 5 minus negative 3? 0 minus 6 is 8 over negative 6 really simplifies to negative 4 over 3. Okay, now I want to identify the perpendicular slope. So if my slope is negative 4 over 3, what's the perpendicular slope going to be? 3 over 4, nice job. Now I want to identify a midpoint. So I want to find the midpoint. Well, what's the midpoint of A and B going to be, Spencer? Three, 1, nice job. Because 6 plus 0 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. So now I'm going to take my perpendicular slope and my midpoint, and I'm going to put that into point slope form. Katie, how would that be?
Y minus 1 equals 3/4 in parentheses x minus 3.
There it is, right there. Nice job. Ooh, it's kind of slope on the board, huh?
I keep forgetting to switch it. So if it was like, the slope was like, say,
Okay, let's try number 5. First thing I want to do is I want to identify the slope. Okay, so first thing I want to do on number 5 is I want to identify slope. Who thinks they can give me the slope here? Blake, what would the slope be? Yep, when you do it, you get 4 over 6, which equals 2 over 3. Now, earlier somebody said, well, I got negative 4 over negative 6. What's negative 4 over negative 6 going to give me? It's still just 2/3, right? Because 2 negatives give me a positive. So either way, work it out. I'll still get the same answer, 2/3. Now I want to find the perpendicular slope. Tyler Wilson, what would my perpendicular slope be? Negative 3 over 2. Great. Now I'm going to find the midpoint. Oh, Quinn, what would my midpoint be here, bud? Huh? Oh, here, do it. What's negative 4 plus 2?
For midpoint, isn't it x1 plus x2?
Yeah, you add the x's. So yeah, negative 4 plus 2, we're adding the x's.
That's going to be
Negative 2 divided by 2 gets me?
1.
Negative 1. So now I'm going to add the y's. What's 7 plus 3?
10.
Divided by 2? So my midpoint is negative 1, 5. Becca, can you give me that in point slope form then, please? There it is right there. That's point slope form. Nice job. Okay, do you see how we're just taking a lot of the stuff we've already used and kind of combining it together? That's really what a lot of this is. But again, can you do this if you don't know how to find slope? If you don't know how to find perpendicular slopes? If you don't know how to find midpoint? No, that's why those kind of 3 key factors here. All right, take a couple seconds to try these 2 on your own. So let's look at number 6. First thing I want to do is I want to identify slope. Spencer, what's my slope going to be? Negative 1 over 2. Nice job. So now I need to find the perpendicular slope. Claire, what's the perpendicular slope? Was it? 2. Then I need to find the midpoint. Chris, what's the midpoint?
1, 5.
Ooh, jeez. Man, that's just bad spelling there. There we go. Midpoint is 1, 5. And then, Becca, give me that in point slope form, please. Isn't it 2 parentheses x minus 1? Should be 2. And then if I were to challenge you and say, hey, put that into slope-intercept form.
Y equals
2x plus.
2x
Plus 3. Nice job.
plus 3.
Because I would distribute the 2 and add the 5. Number 7. What? Opposite reciprocal. So you flip it and you change the sign. Okay, 7. Trent Bannister, what's the slope of number 7? Shh, gentlemen. 3/2. Nice job. Anderson, what's the perpendicular slope going to be?
2/3.
Ooh, close.
What? Oh, negative 2. I said it, Chris.
Caden, what's the midpoint for number 7?
I didn't do. I didn't get to number 7.
So do it real fast here.
I'll give it to you. Midpoint is x1 plus x2.
So what's 6 plus 10?
Divided by 2 would be 8.
And the y coordinate?
And 2. Negative 2.
So now put that into point slope form. Oh, let's go with, ooh, I don't know. Beast, what do you got? Nice job. And that's point slope form. Good work. Here's your assignment.